this is a very middle-of-the-road kind of story in the Star Wars mythos. I think I mentioned in one of my posts earlier that Rotten Tomatoes ranks it at 5 out of 11 of the Star Wars movies. I think it's right about there, maybe 6. I'd probably put it closer to 6. It definitely benefits greatly. Hi, Peter. How's it going, buddy? From not being part of the Skywalker saga. As we have seen with the sequel trilogy, there is quite a big burden placed on those movies because of, there's these legacy characters that people have a lot of attachment to. If they're not treated in a certain way, people are going to be upset. Nothing wrong with that. But since this doesn't have any of your big heavy hitters like Luke or Leia or Han, it doesn't have to be worried by that. There's no baggage carried with this movie. There's no mention of... Well, there might be a mention of Jedi, but we don't see any Jedi. We don't see any lightsabers, and that helps out the film a lot, too. So one of the things I want to address up front, though, is the massive problems that happened behind the scenes during the production of this film. So the director is a guy named Gareth Edwards. He had only done, I think, 2 films before he booked this gig, and one of them was a small independent film called Monsters, and the other was Godzilla. And apparently that was enough for Lucasfilm to be like, okay, we can trust this guy with a huge Star Wars blockbuster. He had a rough time of it. For one thing, apparently he was into this like spontaneous improvised shooting from time to time, and he would just like waste a half an hour at a time like shooting stuff that he knew wasn't going to be in the final film. For example, you guys might remember in one of the original trailers, there's the shot of Jyn Erso in like this tunnel thing, right, on the Imperial facility, and she turns around and you can hear Forrest Whitaker's voice being like, "What will you become?" Well, they just shot that one day because Gareth was like, "Whoa, Felicity, you look great in that tunnel with all that light. Let's capture this on film." So they wasted time doing that, and then it didn't make it into the final product. So Lucasfilm was dealing with that, and then when they did finally see his final cut, it was apparently very long and really hard to track the story, kind of like a lot of George Lucas stuff, actually. So they had a mess on their hands. They brought in this guy named Tony Gilroy, who had worked on the Bourne trilogy, and Tony basically had to take over. And I wrote down one of his quotes because I thought it was really interesting. He says, "They were in such a swamp, they were in so much terrible, terrible trouble that all you could do was improve their position." So the movie needed a ton of reshoots, which reshoots are a perfectly normal, like every film has to undergo some level of reshoots. But to give you some context, Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3, did it in 11 days. That's a pretty quick process. Rogue One needed 5 weeks of reshoots, which is crazy. So not only did Tony Gilroy rewrite a bunch of stuff, Gareth Edwards had to basically step down and let him edit it and reshoot basically the entire end. The bad, while I'm still kind of dwelling on the messiness of it all, is just that with the exception of like K2 and maybe Jyn, a lot of the characters are pretty poorly written. They're not super relatable. And the third act is awesome, but it does kind of rely heavily on the very first Star Wars movie, A New Hope. So it's not good, like as far as looking at it by itself. And then overall, it's just kind of a choppy story with poor dialogue. But the good stuff, Ben Mendelsohn as Orson Krennic is awesome, like Ben Mendelsohn is in basically everything he does. And like I was saying, the third act is really good. The way that the movie builds suspense in the climax of the story is really actually quite impressive. And there's a lot of cool, striking images throughout the whole film. Like the dull color palette is really cool. Ready? 3, 2, 1, play. Woo! There's a lot to unpack here. And I know that I have a lot of friends who love this one and think it's the best one, which is fine. You're entitled to your own opinion and whatnot. But the more I analyze it, the more I'm like, ooh, there's some issues here. Especially considering how much the character of Rey has been just mercilessly critiqued. Like, there are so many issues with these characters here. All right, here we go. And as you realize, there is no opening crawl. They considered doing an opening crawl, for a while, but then they decided they wanted to distance themselves from the episodic films. Hang on, I got to get a different remote. Also, since I like to tell people about other names that they considered for these movies, at one point they were going to call it, let's see, I wrote these down, The Shadow of the Death Star, which actually is pretty cool and kind of similar to The Shadows of the Empire. And then, what was the other one? Dark Times. Dark Times. They eventually decided to go with Rogue One. Alright, so here we are. This droid here was operated by the same team who does BB-8. And here is baby Jyn Erso running for her life. She's, I don't know why she knows this is a bad thing. The ship is bringing death and destruction. Some moisture evaporators there in the back. This girl is adorable and actually looks a lot like Felicity Jones. Gotta grab your toys. Yeah, the set design here is really cool. The color, there's the blue milk on the countertop, which I was thinking the other day, blue milk is supposed to be from Banthas. Like, who's out there milking those Banthas? William, what's up, man? I have started. Did you just show up? Here, I'll give you a time stamp. We just started. 2 minutes exactly is where I'm at. 2:02, 2:03. So here's Krennic. This planet, by the way, is called Lamu. They shot a lot of this in Iceland, I believe. This kid's adorable. So Mads Mikkelsen, the actor who plays Galen Erso here, her father, he apparently is really good with this kid. He's a dad, he's a father in real life. Okay, we got to talk about these troopers. So one thing they were going for with like the color design, you'll notice Krennic is in white and his troopers are in black, which is an inverse of what we see with Darth Vader at the beginning of A New Hope, where Vader is in black and his troopers are all white. But these Death Troopers are pretty dope. Like, going back to cool designs, their look is awesome. William, did you find this okay, bro? Let me know if you're following along. So here we have Lyra, Jyn's mother, giving her a crystal. The crystals have a pretty big impact in this film. At one point, they were going to make Lyra a Jedi, but as I said earlier, they decided to not incorporate Jedi of any kind into this movie. This location is gorgeous, though. These mountains and this fog. So these Death Troopers, I'll try to get this out before Krennic starts chewing scenery. Those designs were originally from Ralph McQuarrie's sketches and stuff from way back in the 70s. He envisioned this tall, slender, almost ethereal trooper. So Krennic's here because he wants to get Galen's help to, work on the Death Star. Galen lies about Lyra being dead. William, caught up now. I really like this one. Good, glad to have you, man. I like this one too. I just am not blind to the problems that it has. One of the screenwriters had some fun things to say about the dialogue here in this scene. Look at these troopers. Krennic's jacket appears to be water repellent. Peter says, yeah, I love that you can see all the little droplets on his chest. Baby Jyn didn't go high like she was supposed to. So I don't know if any of you remember, but back early aughts, there was a book called Death Troopers, and it was a Star Wars horror novel, which had never been done before. So it's since been retconned into the Legends stuff. But for a while, they thought about making these Death Troopers in this movie kind of be like a half human, half zombie type of character. I love that line that Krennic gives where he's like, "Oh, Lyra, back from the dead." She does a great job in her short amount of time on screen. Her robes, again, look very Jedi-like, going back to her possibly being Jedi, and she's shot. Galen's just soaking up the water. Yeah, Krennic is repelling the water, and Galen is just kind of drenched. So now Jyn decides it's finally time to run away. How cool that would have been to have like a Stormtrooper zombie? I would watch that. I would watch the heck out of that. I love this little hideout that they created for her to hide in. It's also funny that she has a doll that's a stormtrooper. Like, you would think that her parents would be like, I don't want my kid to be playing with the symbol of the Empire. But no, I guess they don't mind. Also, Galen, the name Galen, for those of you who are big video game players, the Force Unleashed character's name was Galen Marek, I believe. So this is kind of maybe a little nod to that character. Also, Mads Mikkelsen's older brother does the voice of General Grievous on the animated series, which I thought was pretty wild. Peter, did you finish watching the Clone Wars micro series by chance? Here's Saw Gerrera. This is the only time we see him with the shaved head in the whole movie. In the trailers, we saw a lot more of Saw Gerrera clean shaven like this. The music. All right, let's talk about the music real quick. So, obviously, this is the first Star Wars film that did not have John Williams composing. They were going to have this guy, and he had to drop out. Oh, I have his name written down somewhere. Alexandre Desplat, I believe. And because of the scheduling issues with the film, they had to bring on Michael Giacchino last minute, who is J.J. Abrams' normal composer, funny enough. Apparently, in the novel, they talk about how much Jyn Erso hates her little cellmate, which I guess is why she gives him this scowl here. I think his tentacle stuff is pretty fun. Yeah, you finished. I just read an article this morning about how the most recent episode of Dave Filoni's Clone Wars kind of is the first time that it messes up the continuity of Genndy Tartakovsky's. Alright, Ring of Kafrene. So this is the first time that we've ever seen like a banner. Oh, and this is supposed to be similar to what we saw, or if any of you are big Blade Runner fans, the idea here was that it was going to replicate the Los Angeles in the year 2019 in the original Blade Runner movie, which it's 2020 now, and pretty sure LA doesn't look quite like that. Alright, so here's Cassian Andor. I have big issues with the introduction of his character here. Yeah, Giacchino is phenomenal. If there was anybody who's going to take over John Williams, I think he's a pretty good match. He also only had like 4 weeks to compose this thing. Alright, here's this poor schmuck that's just going to get gunned down. Basically, he's got intel on Galen, and is telling Cassian about Bodhi Rook and how Rook has this video of Galen. And there's a Death Star, but here's my thing. This is the first time we meet Cassian. He's supposed to be our male lead. The best way to alienate your leading male from your audience is to have him just commit cold-blooded murder here. And like, I'm not even opposed to him having to take this guy out, but he doesn't even make an attempt to save him. And I don't know if Gareth Edwards was trying to like do a Han Solo Greedo thing, but the difference is we got to witness a whole scene with Han and Luke before the Greedo scene, and Greedo was definitely like a bad dude. Whereas this poor guy, like, is a pretty sympathetic character. He's got a bad arm. Just doesn't work for me. It's like Gareth Edwards or whoever happened to shoot this bit. This might have actually been a reshoot by Tony. They're like, all right, we got to make this guy serious. What can we do? Oh, I know, have him murder somebody. Great idea. I don't know. All right, Jedha, Imperial Occupied Moon. Now this soundtrack is all in all pretty cool. So Jedha, you'll see some of these old statues falling over of old Force worshippers. The thing to bear in mind here is the temple is not exclusively a Jedi temple. These are going to be Saw Gerrera's militia here. They are called the Partisans. And here's Bodhi Rook. So I remember watching this for the first time and having it be pretty confusing to figure out what's going on here. It's not super clear. Basically, Saw Gerrera's group is like an extremist rebel sect, right? They're a rebel cell group. And this guy here, his name's Two Tubes, because he's got two tubes coming out of his mouth. Get it? And Bodhi's like, yo, I got some info for Saw. Why are you putting a hood over my head? And of course, Saw Gerrera, we find out, used to have a relationship with some of the Rebel Alliance, with Mon Mothma. Wobani, by the way, Wobani is an acronym for Obi-Wan. That's kind of a fun little tidbit there. This tank is actually the same that we see in Revenge of the Sith on the Wookiee planet of Kashyyyk. So again, I like the little connective tissue stuff, like the stuff that we see from film to film. And it's good to see the classic Stormtrooper helmets and stuff again too. Jyn looking all tough. But yeah, I guess like the Partisans, Saw Gerrera's group, just became too extreme, started to like torture people, and was less concerned with like killing civilians as they fought for freedom, and the rest of the Rebel Alliance was like, okay, we're done with you. Alright, so here are some of our Rebel Alliance friends. Jyn, you're so mean. I like Felicity Jones, but I don't know about this casting. Like, I just have a hard time buying some of this stuff. So that stunt, she's on a wire there when K2 catches her.
Please do not resist.
he's pretty good. He is the only real comedic humor here. Yavin 4, there's a U-Wing. Yeah, people are reacting to my story. So this is really cool to see Yavin 4 again, recreated as best as they could from all the old footage in A New Hope. And apparently you can find Chopper in there somewhere from Rebels. For any of you who might be big Rebels fans, there's a few Easter eggs for that. This guy I'm not a fan of, the General Draven character. There's Dodonna. Y'all might remember him from the end of the first Star Wars movie, so that character is around. Of course, he's played by a different actor now, the guy from Game of Thrones, actually. I want to say he's at the Black Gate in the Game of Thrones series, but I don't remember exactly. And here's Mon Mothma. So, this character appeared in Return of the Jedi, again, played by different actors. But they shot a bunch of stuff with this lady for Revenge of the Sith that did not make it into the final cut.
When was the last time you were in contact with your father?
15 years ago.
Any idea where?
Diego Luna is a really cool dude too. I don't have a problem with these actors. I just don't think the characters were given the chance to thrive.
Really? When was your last contact with Saw Gerrera?
I haven't seen this one as much, so it's a little bit harder for me to
It's been a long time.
track the plot. So basically, they've captured Jin because they want to get information from Saw.
We're up against the clock here, girls.
They know that there's an Imperial pilot who has left the Empire and has information about the super weapon. And this pilot is in Saw Gerrera's possession. So how can they get to meet up with Saw? They use Jin. By the way, Saw Gerrera, if you didn't already know, plays a big part in the Clone Wars animated series with Anakin and Obi-Wan.
What does this have to do with my father?
This stuff is all shot really well and interesting. I love too that they kept the original graphics on all these walls and stuff. Thanks for the like, Jordan Ring. Appreciate that.
The power to destroy entire planets. Pilot says he was.
Peter says I'd rather seen them use different actors for all the roles instead of trying to use. Oh, we're gonna get to chatting a lot about the CGI stuff. So interesting. You would have rather they recast Tarkin, huh? My mind was blown when Grand Moff Tarkin turned around halfway through this movie. Like, we saw his reflection in the window, and we'll talk about all this later. Actually, let's switch gears here and talk about Bail Organa too, because he shows up again. I love that his appearance here is without dialogue. Like, he doesn't say anything, and we hear a little bit of like the original Star Wars theme. But yeah, good to see Jimmy Schmidt's back from the prequel trilogy. More of that connective tissue stuff that works really well. And we'll talk about fan service here in a little bit, but to me there's a big difference between like gratuitous fan service that's just there to be there, which I think is with some of the cameos, like the guys from the Cantina that show up on Jeddah, that's like, why are you guys here? But then stuff like Bail Organa showing up, that makes logical sense within the context of the story. Bail would be here. Mon Mothma would be here. Alright, so K2 meets Jin properly this time. We find out that he's a reprogrammed Imperial droid. And, of course, this droid is played by the great Alan Tudyk from Firefly fame. He apparently improv'd quite a bit of his stuff on the set, too. Alright, I have an issue with this scene. General Draven tells Cassian, if you find Galen, shoot him. Why? Like, first off, apparently he doesn't trust the team to extract Galen, which, thanks for the support, bro. Second off, Galen would be a huge benefit to the Rebel Alliance if they could get him over to their side. Like, way more of a benefit than if he was just killed off and couldn't help the Empire. And the third thing is, if you just want to kill Galen, then why are you bringing Jyn Erso along with you to go to Edu? You should just dump Jyn once you meet up with Saw. It just seems very weird to me. And then it's never really addressed again between Draven and Cassian. Because, of course, Cassian comes back to Yavin 4 later, and they never have a conversation about it. So it's just a very odd, weird script choice. Oh, did I miss the ghost? Did it already show up? I know that the ghost ship from Rebels is in here somewhere. Also, there's a mention of Hera, Sondulu, or whatever her last name is, the Twi'lek from Rebels. She's like paged over the intercom somewhere as they're running around in the base. Alright, so here goes this U-Wing ship to Jeddah. Gotta go find crazy old Uncle Saw. This shot, like a lot of the cinematography is gorgeous. We see the guy monitoring stuff. He's got the worst job ever as he's standing in like a little space bucket up there, tracking ships that come in and out of the base. And here's Saw Gerrera. Okay, I got huge issues with this character. I'm sorry, y'all, but I gotta sit through all the problems people have with Rey, so I gotta complain about Saw. His choices are just so absurd. They lose, like, these scenes lose any kind of groundedness that I think is needed. And it's not as bad in this scene. Or maybe it is. Is this I think this is the scene where he breathes and then like the music goes, "Dun-dun!" Like it's just so extra. And the way that the speech pattern that Forrest Whitaker takes. Peter says that the ghost is the external shot of the hangar bay, upper left-hand corner. Is it flying or is it actually grounded at that point? And I have issues with Bodhi's character too. Basically, I hate this scene because I think these are the two weakest characters in the whole movie. And a better director would have been like fine-tuning these character choices on set. Like the thing... Alright, I should shut up for a while and actually follow what they're talking about. But, yeah, here's what I saw. It's just so silly. The way he pulls the thing and the violins in the background, like, it's just so extra. And now we get to meet the Borgolic monster that is also really bad. But apparently, Riz Ahmed, the guy who plays Bodhi, like, he sent so many audition tapes to Gareth Edwards, the director. It was like, oh, Bodhi Rook could be like this, or he could be like this, or he could be like this. And it's almost like Gareth Edwards never gave him an answer to any of his proposed ideas for the character. He's just like, yeah, do them all. Because his acting choices are just all over the map. It blows my mind. Here is Krennic. Peter says it's grounded. Okay, see? Oh, here's Tarkin. So, when I first saw this in theaters, I thought we were only going to get him in like one scene and see his reflection. Like I thought this was just a little bit of a teaser, a little Easter egg, right? But then when Tarkin turns around, my mind was blown. I like it. And I understand the people who don't. That's fair. Peter, I get your point. It's a little weird. Like, are we heading into an awkward phase of filmmaking if we can just digitally recreate every actor ever? Like, they're talking about doing that with James Dean now. But I think if the estate gives permission, which is what happened with Peter Cushing, because, of course, so Peter Cushing died in the 90s, and Lucasfilm asked his family if they could do this. And apparently the family was like all about it and like actually helped. I don't know how they helped, but they like gave their input on stuff. But it's real close. I think Tarkin looks great. I mean, I know he's still digital character, and we'll talk about a little bit about how there was an actor on stage and stuff, or on set. There's the Death Star, but it's impressive. It's really impressive. Alright, so this is a dream that Jyn has. This takes place on Coruscant. So we know back before they went into hiding on Lamu that Galen was working for Krennic. And he just thought that the work he was doing on the crystals was finding a new energy source, which I guess was kind of true. He just didn't know the energy source was going to be used to build a massive super weapon that could destroy entire planets. So there's that. Baby Jyn Erso. Yeah, there's some cute footage of her goofing around with Mads Mikkelsen on set, like playing like a high-five game or something. She's a cute kid. And apparently Felicity would just refer to Mads as dad like the entire time. Will says it's incredible CGI. I agree. It's tricking my mind. I know. Even still, I'm just like blown away. But that first time I saw it in theaters, I was just like, whoa. I saw this one in LA, because I was living in LA at the time, with the wife and one of my other Star Wars buddies. Fine, saw fire. So you're using me. You're using my daddy issues to get to Saw Gerrera, Cassian. Thanks a lot. So I also had a hard time tracking some of the stuff here on Jedha because the catacombs that Saw Gerrera is hiding out in look pretty similar to like the temple where the city is. So it took me a while to figure out, oh, they're in different locations. They're like literally walking back and forth, and apparently it's like a half day's journey. See, here's the temple and the city. And the temple itself is supposed to look similar to Vader's castle, actually, on Mustafar, which we'll see later in the film. But yeah, the catacombs and the city look a lot alike. Look at that beautiful Death Star, though. They're not bringing in anything, Jin. They're taking things out. Those ships look like turtles. I love turtles. I like turtles. Yeah, that's one thing that Leah and I had thought when we first saw this. We were like, all those new ships, they look like hovering turtles.
Are you talking about me?
She's right. We need to blend in. There with the ship.
I can blend in. I'm an Imperial droid. This is under Imperial occupation.
Half the people here want to...
Yeah, he's got a point. K2 would totally blend in, guys. I love Cassian's jacket here. It looks a whole lot like the one that Han Solo and stuff was wearing back on Empire Strikes Back days. So that's a nice nod. Oh, Jin and K2 don't get along. I love that bit when he drops the bag on the ground. So Alan Tudyk was on set, and he wore a couple different costumes. One of them was him on stilts, and one was him standing on his feet with a backpack thing. All right, I hate this creature. Borg Gullet. First off, it's a little bit too much CGI for me. Second off, it looks like the blobfish on the internet that was voted the most disgusting animal on the planet by people. And there's a lot of memes about how it's the ugliest thing ever. I think it's the blobfish. It's like, what? The creators were like, ooh, let's take the most disgusting animal in like people's opinions and put him in the Star Wars movie. People will love it. We'll just add CGI tentacles to the blobfish. Oh, it's just so weird. It's weird for like the sake of being weird. Doesn't work for me. I'd rather you like actually interrogate Bodhi like you did back in the day with like Han Solo on that platform of sparks and wires. You know, classic torture. Alright, so we're in the city of the holy city on Jeddah. The set design here is real cool. A lot of these people in the red cloaks are like pilgrims to the Holy Land. So, oh, and here's the worst cameo of all. These guys, Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba. Notice his hand. He's got the finger hands instead of the hoof hand. That's a big nerdy conversation discrepancy between what kind of arms he should and shouldn't be having because of continuity errors back on the original set. But anyway, that to me is like a fan service moment that seems kind of shoehorned in. It seems less justified than like the appearance of Bail Organa or something. Hope. See, I just don't understand where they're going with Cassian's character. So now he's like being a nice, positive guy. Rebellions are built on hope. And then, like earlier, he just straight up murdered. It's just there's a lot of inconsistency going on with his character design. So anyway, a lot of people are coming to the temple. What is the name of the temple? Has an actual name. Temple of the Kyber. And now we get to meet the Guardians of the Wills. The two that apparently are only around. The only ones that are left, apparently. We hear a little bit of the Force theme. Chirrut, played by the great Donnie Yen. And then the other guy. This other guy, okay, his name is Baze. But dude doesn't have anything to do in this movie. Except for like cry when Chirrut dies. Spoiler. Chirrut has some cool lines, though. Except I'm not a big fan of the Force is one, the Force with me, I'm with the Force is with me. Like, that gets a little old real quick, in my opinion. But it's just one guy's opinion. So Cassian's kind of describing who the Guardians are. This temple, there's really not much information that we know about this temple. which is I kind of like. But apparently, the Church of the Force held this temple to be sacred, and the Guardians of the Whills, who may or may not be connected to the church, were the ones that would protect it. So, of course, it's already been ransacked by the Empire, but those two are still hanging out because they ain't got nothing better to do. Caleb, so good you could join us, buddy. Yay! We are at 30 minutes and 55 seconds. 30 minutes and 59, 31:02, 31:03, 31:04. Basically, some stuff's about to go down between the Empire and the religious groups and Saw's militia. So now we're getting in the nitty-gritty of it all. This is fun. Like, this is stuff that is good for the film. This little guy is played by Warwick Davis, so the same guy who was in Wicket the Ewok, who pops up again and again as like a little character. And I just realized the other day, all of his characters start with the name W. Okay, I hate this little kid. See, this is a part that is just so obviously redone. Like, I think when they saw the first cut of the film that Gareth did, they were like, wow, Jen is really unsympathetic. What can we do to make her more likable? Oh, I know. Have her save a crying kid for a few seconds. So they threw that in there, and that's it. To me, it's very lazy. If you would have taken the time to develop a better written character, you wouldn't have to do stuff like that. A lot of this action stuff is pretty dope, though. The explosions are great. Old Two Tubes. So Two Tubes hasn't met our heroes here yet. He's only come across Mr. Bodhi Rook. And I'm not sure what those canisters are. Does anybody know? I think those must be like fragments of the, there's a chicken walker, fragments of the crystals or something. Peter says Warwick Davis also played Willow. Oh yeah! I never saw Willow. Is it any good? Here's our hero somehow not getting shot because stormtroopers are incompetent and just can't seem to make anything. And Jin is so tough. This is a funny bit here, though.
Did you know that possibly?
K2's like, you would have shot me.
You did, but I thought.
There's a bit coming up soon where Diego Luna almost breaks character because of something that K2SO says. Yeah, you're not blending in too good at all, guys. That city almost looks a lot like Batuu. Well, I know some of you guys have been to Galaxy's Edge. You kind of get a similar vibe because Galaxy's Edge is not on any of the planets that we've seen in the movies. It's its brand new planet. You guys are in trouble now. Here's the bit that Alan Tudyk improvised on set when he smacks Cassian in the face. I'm taking them to imprison them. Okay, watch Diego Luna cover his face. He's about to break character right there, big time. Taking them to imprison. Yeah, a lot of that reminds me of like the Han Solo stuff on the Death Star when he's like, everything's fine here, we're all fine here now, how are you? Like similar sense of humor that plays really well. Alright, here comes Chirrut and saying, hey, leave them alone. And the stormtroopers are like, dude, who are you and why should we listen to you? See, if Chirrut just said that once, I'd be okay with it. When he starts repeating it like his mantra at the end of the movie, I'm like, okay, we get it. It was Donnie Yen's idea to make the character blind, by the way, which I thought was cool. And Donnie Yen's going to do his thing. Love all this. This is some really cool action sequences. I don't know how I feel about all the jokes that he's doing. I think they're kind of funny. Willow was good when I was a kid, not so sure now. Caleb says I enjoy K2 too much. No, he's the best part of the film, buddy, by far. Yeah, the Scout Walkers are great. I got busted trying to sneak it to my school. Oh, you had a toy version of the little walker? The little chicken walker? I always called them chicken walkers. Alright, here's Baze blowing stuff up. Apparently he used to be a Guardian. Yeah, Caleb, it was totally Donnie Yen's idea to make him blind. He didn't really want to do the movie originally, but when his kids found out, they were like, Dad, you have to do it. And apparently they offered the role to either Donnie Yen or Jet Li, and Donnie Yen cost less. So they're like, all right, we're going to go with Donnie Yen. We don't want to fork over the extra $4 million to get Jet Li in this film. Sorry about the slap. Poor K2. Why don't you just keep him there? All right, so are we going to team up or what? So they do talk about Jedi. We just don't see Jedi. It's like, no, we can't get you to Saw Gerrera, but we can. Here comes Saw's partisans. So she says, I'm the daughter of Galen Erso, as if these people are expected to know who that is. I love that line that Donnie Yen has. Are you kidding me? I'm blind. Why are you blindfolding me? That's a good one. They use a good amount of humor in here. That droid is from the original Star Wars movie back in '77. See, I love seeing some of these familiar designs, and I think this is the first movie where we get to see Twi'leks again since the prequels, I guess. There were Twi'leks in the prequels. For those of you who don't know, the Twi'leks are the aliens with the tentacles, like the one dancing in Jabba's palace. Caleb says, film budget equals true casting director. I don't get it. So here's the catacombs that Saw is hanging out at that look way similar to the Temple of the Kyber. And these guys are all thrown in prison. Meanwhile, Jin is taken to meet with Saw. Film budget equals true casting director. Are you trying to say that there wasn't a good casting director on this film? I mean, a lot of casting choices were... I'm fine with all of them. I just don't know if Jin is the choice, if Felicity Jones is the choice I would have gone with. See, there's the Twilight Dancer. Good to see Twilight. Good to see Dejarik, the chess game played. We get to see, apparently on the walls in one of these... this guy is the Twi'lek who is related to Bib Fortuna in Return of the Jedi. We only got a brief shot of him there sitting at the table, but he is like the brother or something of Bib. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that I forgot about that are in this little place. Yeah, I get it, Chirrut. You're one with the Force. This... This scene is a little awkward. In response to Donnie Yen and Jet Li. Oh! Film budget. Yeah. Jet Li would have been cool too, but I like Donnie Yen. That's a great line there. I sense you carry your prison wherever you go. Broody old Cassian. Yeah, I love the actual physical Dejarik pieces when they're playing chess there. Alright, back to crazy Uncle Saw. And his weird vocal patterns. There's like 2 lines in this scene that I love, and then the rest of it I'm just like, meh, about. I think it's because of the transition here. So right now they're talking about their past. Right, all of this works, but then there's an abrupt transition where Saw is like, "Are you gonna kill me?" Not a day goes by that I don't think of you. So it's almost like, okay, there is an emotional connection happening here. This is good. Where's this going? Keep going in this direction. Nope. We have an abrupt change. It's a trap. He channels his inner Admiral Akbar. I don't know. I get that Saw has been like slowly losing his mind. It doesn't really work for me. The pacing is odd. We're spending so much time on his goofy face. And I think Forrest had some good ideas with the character. I just think he wasn't given direction. That's the part of the director. The role of the director is to fine-tune these acting choices being made.
So what is it that you want?
They wanted an introduction with Gordon.
Originally, by the way, Cassian was going to be a double agent. Like, he was going to be working for Krennic, and he wanted to kill Saw. Because I guess Saw killed some of his family, so he's seeking revenge against Saw. But Cassian's character was completely changed over the course of the production. This is one of the lines that I like quite a bit. It's not a problem if you don't look up. That's a good line. Oh, and the other line that I like in that scene was when Saw says, "You came here to kill me, there's not much of me left." Yeah, you're kind of a mess, bro. Here's the Death Star upside down, I guess. I guess there's not technically an upside or downside, but we've always seen it with the disc thing up at the top. The bicker between Krennic and Tarkin is glorious. See, this is really interesting to see them kind of battling for power, like who is the bigger, better dude. What's crazy is, so the actor that is on set playing Tarkin, a guy by the name of Guy Henry, he did the voice for Tarkin, and it sounds so spot on. By the way, Rian Johnson has a cameo in here coming up real quick. They're like the guys, not these Death Star operators, but they're on a platform when the laser shoots out. I'll point them out to you. This scene is awkwardly written too. I don't understand Baze's reaction here. Like, you're gonna kill him? How are you gonna kill him, Baze? First, why? Why are you having that reaction? Because he's in a jail cell next to you. What are you afraid he's going to do? And how are you going to get to him? It just reads really false to me. But Cassian's trying to get information out of him because Cassian knows that Bodhi Rook has info on Galen. And I guess Bodhi apparently is suffering from a gross blobfish character. Anybody a huge fan of the Borgullet creature? The torture creature? Alright, so Rian Johnson and his producer, Ram, whatever his last name is, are going to be, I'm pretty sure it's this time. It might be at the end when they blow up Scarif. But at some point when they shoot the Death Star laser beams, Rian Johnson has a cameo. Alright, now Galen's going to explain the plot hole of A New Hope. It's weird to me that like they felt the need to give a reason for the ease at which they blew up the Death Star. Like, I never thought that was a problem with A New Hope until this movie came out, and then people were always like, yeah, that always bothered me. I'm like, really? It's weird. Were any of you guys ever bothered by that? Peter says, nope, I hate the torture creature Thank you. Yeah, it's just like strange, and not in a good way. Borgulet. He's got a weird name. Borgulet.
If I took my own life, it would only be a matter of time before Crane realized he no longer needed me to complete the process. So it didn't want any noise.
Was there anybody ever a fan of the video game Dark Forces with Kyle Katarn? Because I was a big fan of that game, and when I heard the concept of this movie about stealing the Death Star plans, I was really hopeful that Kyle Katarn was going to be in this, because that was what the whole video game was based on. William says, never bothered me. Yeah, it seemed like a very weird thing that came out of nowhere, that everybody was like, hey, we need a reason for the Death Star being so easily blown up. Alright, so here's Jin looking all sad and grumpy and crying, because he's like, oh, my dad did love me, and he's alive?
That loss is so overwhelming, I risk failing you now. It's just so hard to just think away while
Okay, so here's a shot where we can see both the temple and the catacombs. That's... Oh, here's Ryan Johnson on the left. You can't even see his face because him and the other guy are just both hunkered down, but yeah, he's in the movie. There you go. Alright, so he's talking about on the vault, on Scarif, in the vault on Scarif. Gives the information about the chain reaction. That Luke Skywalker will eventually blow up. You all be in trouble. I guess K2 had to be sent back to the ship in order to be able to pick everybody up here. But then why go through the trouble of having K2 in the city in the first place, besides a few good jokes? I mean, I guess that's a good enough reason. This is a good one. There's no horizon. So this is, if we're going to complain about questions of logic, which seems to be everybody's favorite thing to do now with the sequel trilogy, this always bothered me here, where Baze points the gun at Bodhi Rook, and Bodhi just ducks. He doesn't move away from the door. He's clearly still standing there right in front of the door, and just ducks. It's like, dude, are you an idiot? Like, no wonder I don't like you as a character. You don't do anything right. So now that they have a good idea, they got the pilot, because apparently Bodhi Rook is going to lead them to Galen, so Cassian can murder somebody else again, because apparently he's really good at murdering. Save the dream, Saw Gerrera, it's so sad to see you go. Not. I'm being mean. I'm being too mean, aren't I? That's just because people are, yeah. I'll stop being mean. This is all really cool. Like, these visual effects are awesome. And Orson Krennic's line here is brutal. One of the writers talked about with Krennic how they wanted to really emphasize this idea that the only way to attain peace is to, like, cause everybody to submit to you. And that's the true way to establish peace throughout the galaxy. Which is terrifying, but works for his character in a lot of ways. It's kind of funny that, like, nobody else tried to run onto their ship in this process. Like, where else are you going to go? There were plenty of other people running alongside them there for a second. Nobody else followed them out. Saw was supposed to be a much bigger role in this movie. Like, I don't think he was going to die here. I think he was supposed to go on. hard to tell. What's funny is there's a lot of mystery around this film because of all the issues it had. The documentaries don't really reveal much about the problems, and Disney's never really come out and been like, yeah, Gareth Edwards screwed up. Like, you never hear them talk bad about him. Whereas, like, with the Solo, the guys who were originally on the movie Solo, y'all remember when they got fired and it was a huge public embarrassment?
I haven't completed my calculation.
I wish Cassian 2 would like lose it a little bit more with K2 in moments like that. Like, punch it. No, do what I said. I'll figure this out for you. Krennic. It's cool to be back on the Death Star again, though, right? There's a lot more dudes around. So yeah, Guy Henry, who's on set, he wore a face capture camera, basically. You can see some behind the scenes footage of him wearing the camera on his head. It looks so good, though. And now he's going to take credit for everything.
I'm afraid the recent security breaches have played down your inadequacy as a military director.
So Tarkin's like, yo, I'm blaming you for the fact that Bodhi Rook got off the hook. So I don't think you're capable of representing this weapon to the rest of the Empire, to Vader. And it's pretty clear that Krennic like really wants to. Oh, they do come back to Yavin again before Edu. See, I'm having a hard time remembering. No, the team doesn't come back to Edu. We, the audience, gets to see them. And this is when General Draven again is like, stick to the plan, kill Galen. And now he's admitting it to the rest of the people. But Mon Mothma, who is the leader of the Alliance, specifically said, extract Galen Erso. So here Cassian is getting told again that you gotta kill Galen. You gotta kill Galen. Everybody's so sad. And it's interesting too, I mean, I don't know. I guess Cassian's struggling more with this murder because he's growing close to Jyn. Like, he so easily murdered the first dude.
Too late.
It wasn't too late. No. We can keep the people who did this. Father's message.
I kind of forgot about this whole scene. So there is a little bit of bonding here going on the ship. So that's good. More of this stuff. I know that I go on and on all the time about how important it is to have characters and significant relationships between the two of them. So this is like, I feel like this is the only opportunity we get to really see any of that. Cassian's like, I want proof that this actually happened. Cassian's kind of a jerk. By the way, with Jyn Erso, kind of going back to the Dark Forces video game I was talking about, the only nod that we kind of get to that game is that in the game, Kyle Katarn's companion's name was Jan Ors. So Jan Ors is kind of similar to Jyn Erso. That's all we got. But I would have liked to seen Kyle Katarn. I mean, we incorporated some expanded universe characters into main continuity because we have Green Admiral Thrawn in Rebels. But Kyle got cut. Kyle Katarn was big in some of the later novels, like the Legacy of the Force novels and the Yuuzhan Vong story arc. Here's some of that Death Star. All this cinematography is real fun. Following along this line of troopers until we get to Krennic. And this should be Edu. Yep, Imperial Kyber Refinery. So this stuff is supposed to look kind of like from the Alien movie, the original Alien movie, and I believe they shot a lot of this in Iceland too. A majority of the film was shot in the UK, like is typically the case with Star Wars, but they did some location stuff in Iceland, and then of course the Scarif beaches are all these little islands off the coast of Asia somewhere. K2 is doing his best C-3PO impression, giving them the odds. Peter needs a timestamp. Yeah, you had to restart. What happened? We are at 57 minutes and 5 seconds. 57:07. This is them trying to land on Edu because apparently it's really rainy. I mean, it's no Exegol if you ask me, but I guess it's still tricky. What was I gonna say? I got distracted. Peter, you distracted me. No, I'm just kidding. I hope you're finding us. Okay, give me a thumbs up when you're back on track, bro. There's a lot of them being wet in this movie, it seems. I wonder how many times they use the word hope in this movie. I bet you somebody on the internet has counted all those times up.
One blast to the reactor module and the whole system goes down. That's what you say. The whole system goes down.
Cassian's like, no, you can't come, because if you come, then I'll feel really bad and you'll see me kill your dad. Because I was given orders by this idiot general instead of the leader of the Alliance. Yay, Peter, you're back on track. I kind of forgot that they wrecked their ship in the process of landing. I don't remember how they get off. This is interesting here. Does he look like a killer?
What do you mean he looks like a killer?
The Force moves darkly around. See, I've never heard that before. The Force moves darkly around a creature about to kill. So obviously, Chirrut has some Force sensitivity, right? But not all the Guardians did have that. Like, obviously, Baze does not. So, I don't know. For a while, they were toying with this idea where if you were around a crystal for a long period of time, you would somehow develop a Force sensitivity to it. Kind of a neat idea. But, alright, so here comes some reinforcements from the Alliance to help out on Edu, apparently. But yeah, like, not only can Chirrut sense things because he kind of has developed a fifth sense since he can't see, but he apparently has this ability to see interesting things through the Force. Bodhi is such a wreck through all this. One of the ideas too was that it was going to be more of an ensemble heist movie. And because like originally the team had a couple aliens on it, and those aliens got cut. I think part of the reason was the aliens they created were a little bit too close to Groot and Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy. If you pull up like the original art design of the team, the Rogue team, you'll see there's like a really tall green guy and like a little dude on his shoulder. So yeah, the roster evolved greatly, but there was always a droid, and the concept with the droid was that he was going to be sort of like 3PO, just painted black. And when they first started looking at that, they're like, yeah, it's too close to C-3PO. Let's make him bigger, taller. So that's how we got the K2 that we see today. But yeah, the behind-the-scenes footage of Alan Tudyk on those stilts is awesome. Because he's just wearing like a mocap sort of jacket with all the little the gray and white markings on it. And then he's got a hat that matches. And he's just got these shades. He's walking around on the beach on his stilts looking really awesome. Alright, so everybody's being brought out into the rain. Bodhi's confirming to Cassian which one of them is Galen. It's certainly easier to just shoot him from afar than trying to save him, so I guess I gotta give the story that. There's less risk, I suppose. This is kind of a dick move. So he's telling Bodhi to go away because he doesn't want anybody to see that he's going to perform this assassination. And Krennic shows up at the exact same time.
Excellent news, Galen. The battle station is complete. You must be very proud. So is that.
And Krennic's wearing that same raincoat that he had on Lamu at the beginning of the movie, right? Peter says Bodhi does straighten up once they get to Scarif. Not perfect, but his mind heals in a small way. Yeah, he's a little less spastic on Scarif, for sure. All these poor scientists.
One of you betrayed him.
See, I'm kind of forgetting this part, so I've got to watch this a little more carefully.
With the pilot to send messages to the rebellion.
That's right.
And I urge
So Krennic is trying to get information out of these guys about how Bodhi passed on the info. Sorry guys, I'm always like checking out my hair and being like, oh, it needs to be
very well. I'll
spruced. Come on, Galen, do what's right, man. Step out.
It was me. It was me.
I know we're getting close to Chirrut showing up here because I want to talk about his weapon, his light bowcaster thing that he's got. That's super cool. Oh man, his big moment of decision here. Can he pull the trigger? No, I can't do it this time. Even though it kind of would make more sense for him to kill this person as opposed to the guy at the beginning of the movie. Oh, that sucks. That's brutal, seeing all those poor scientists get gunned down. Freaking Death Troopers. They're aptly named, I guess. The elite group of troopers. So Jyn, meanwhile, has climbed up along the sides of this platform. I like the rain. This reminds me a little bit of Camino, the whole Jango Fett Obi-Wan fight. So they know the Alliance is coming. Ben Mendelsohn, man. He's pretty good.
Get the squadron rerolled. Get him on now. Already engaged.
Here are our X-Wings! This also kind of reminds me a little bit of Exegol with the lightning flashing and stuff. You guys remember in Rise of Skywalker there was a lot of use of like cracks of lightning. Alright, so the rebels have arrived and Cassian wasn't able to slow them down. So Krennic is in a mad dash to try to fight against them. Alright, and here we have an awkward reunion. How rough would that be? Like, you're Galen Erso, you're already having a bad night, and then my daughter's here? Random? Hey, kiddo. So this is a fun, I like this battle scene. Honestly, most of these battle scenes throughout this movie are top notch. Like, that's what this film really has going. The fog of war stuff. I know the whole idea was to make it, you know, a war drama. And, yeah. It's successful in most ways regarding that. This whole idea, though, for the death, I don't know what that is that Chirrut does. Oh, he's going to pull out his light bow here. Okay, so this is a weapon that the Guardians made. Like, it's specifically made by the Guardians of the Whills. By the way, the Whills, for those of you who don't know, was something George Lucas came up with way back when he first wrote the original script for Star Wars. And like the story of Luke Skywalker a long time ago in a galaxy far away was told by these creatures called the Whills, this alien species that like lived forever. And then he was like, oh, this plotting device doesn't really work. Let's just tell the story itself instead of going, you know, an extra step to have a character tell the story. So, but the original title was like the story of Luke Skywalker as told by the journal written by the Whills. Kind of wild. And some people have a theory that Yoda is a Whill. What do you guys think about that? I mean, with Mandalorian being what it is, everybody wants to figure out what kind of species Yoda and Baby Yoda are. So here's the brief moment where we get to see Galen reunite with his daughter. This is similar to the whole Shmi Anakin stuff in Attack of the Clones. It's like, dang it, we meet up right when you die? Caleb says, I think the movie has a proper amount of urgency. Yeah, I think you're right. You might have missed this earlier too, Caleb, but I was talking about how good the third act is, the way they build suspense there. It's pretty incredible. William, I'm always amazed all those shots missed the huge ship on the platform. I wasn't even paying attention to that. Yeah, there's a lot of misfires in this movie. The nice thing about having that act and cry in the rain is like you don't have to actually force the tears. Because as the character at the end of Blade Runner says, they just blend in the rain. What is that iconic line from Blade Runner? Any big Blade Runner fans out there? Caleb, thanks for the like. All of you should like this video for me. I knew that when I saw it was going to be like 60 degrees out today, I was going to get fewer people watching. What's the weather like in Boston, Caleb? Nice? Baze is just taking people out. I love his little pack that he wears too, his ammunition pack. His gun's cool. Like, his character design is cool. He just doesn't have anything to do. Okay, so here's how they escape, maybe? I'm really forgetting how the team gets off the planet. They stole a different ship. Yeah, they're in a shuttle now. Okay. Got it. Caleb, you just had snow? Shoot! It's pretty bad weather. Sorry, man. It's actually really nice here in KC. Too bad you're not still here. We miss you. Alright, so now they're back on the ship. Everybody's like, let's unpack what just happened. Luckily nobody saw Cassian almost kill Dad, but Dad is dead. I'm trying to remember, did we get to see Jyn really grieve that? I mean, I think, yeah, she's kind of processing it here. Okay, this is interesting. Was that She-Root that grabbed her hand? Oh, she's mad about something. See, I forget so much of this.
You lied to me.
Very so.
You went up there to kill my father.
Oh, she did figure out. Alright, so I'm digging this, actually. The Jyn Cassian stuff is better than I remember.
Looking for someplace to put it. I've said it before.
I think you have. Lena, you lied about why we came here, and you lied about why you went up there.
Ooh.
I had every chance to do that.
See, drama is conflict. This is interesting. I don't remember how she finds out, though, that he tried to kill Galen.
My father was living with and you put him at risk. That's what Alliance funds the beach.
I had orders that I displayed.
Yeah, you had orders from multiple sources in the Alliance, though, bro.
You might as well be a stormtrooper.
Oh, snap.
What do you know? We don't all have the luxury of deciding when and where we want to care about something. Suddenly they're available this way. Some of us live it. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old.
There you go, Diego Luna. This is a good scene.
Some of us just decided to be so involved.
Can't talk in my line.
Felicity Jones's grumpy face, though, grumpy cat face, is kind of funny.
Yeah, before. I'm sure I know what some of it is so much.
Caleb says, I think this has a good amount of grief because it has all 4 stages of grief. Denial, anger, something else, and acceptance. Yeah, sure. Not a bad scene. No, I'll give you that. Alright, here we are on Mustafar. Even though, what's weird to me is that we get a banner on the at the bottom of the screen for all the planets except Mustafar. The castle design here is straight out of Ralph McQuarrie's original concept art back in the 70s. It's supposed to look like a tuning fork, apparently, or a tuning key, because Vader's tuning into the dark side of the Force. And apparently it's supposed to be right over a cave, like a Sith cave. Even though I had a great time the other day watching Revenge of the Sith with you guys and making the jokes about how Vader just built the castle on top of that meeting room office space where he slaughtered all the separatists. That was funny. Yeah, Vader's pun is probably one of the worst parts of this movie coming up. I love that he's in the tank. I love that we see these Imperial guards. The red crimson guards are phenomenal. This is all awesome, being able to see Vader's back soaking in Bacta. Like the idea that he's trying to heal himself is super cool. And they got James Earl Jones back too. Like everything about this scene is so close to being perfect, and then you have to throw in that dumb prequel trilogy style joke about choking on your aspirations. Like, why didn't somebody stop that? We got the Darth Vader theme here. It's all really good. The actor that's in the suit here, hold on, I got his name. A Welsh actor named Spencer Wilding, who apparently had experience boxing and stuff. So he's wearing the suit, and James Earl Jones is doing the voice. Look at how pretty that is. I really want to catch some of this dialogue here because I don't remember it.
An Imperial facility open attack?
This is Governor Park, suggested attack.
You were not summoned here in Bravo to have credit.
No,
There is no...
I will talk about his costume design a little bit. Look at how Mustafar is so blue through the window. I really enjoy that. But you'll notice this design of Vader's cape is straight out of A New Hope, the way that it's attached on the front of his chest instead of the top. Also, his... It's coming up. I can't... I can't talk because I'm anticipating this terrible joke.
Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director.
There it is. Wah, wah. But no, like his eyes are red. Like, what do you call them? Like the eye slots in the Vader helmet. They have a hint of red to them, just like they did in A New Hope. So I love that nod. All right, so here we are back on Yavin, talking with some of the senators, and they're all trying to decide what are we gonna do now that we know these plans exist. And all these senators have names that nobody really cares about. But I love her costume design. The lady in gold, she's looking good. And then this Mon Calamari character here, his name's Radis.
destruction, the rebellion does not.
What reason would my father have to lie? What benefit would it bring him?
To lure our forces into a final battle to destroy...
The first part of this scene all works really well for me, but then towards the end when Jin's giving her pep talk, the eye visor, that's what it's called. Thank you, Caleb. Yeah, it's a reddish eye visor.
My father brings his blood so that we may have a chance to defeat it.
So you told us.
If the Empire has this kind of power, what chance do we have?
What choice do we have? The question is what choice? Run, hide, flee the Nazi, gather your forces. You give way to an enemy this evil with this much power, and you condemn the galaxy to an eternal...
Bail Organa's convinced, guys.
Now,
Jin's... I think some of it is they've touched up the scene. Like, there's a little line that somebody says, "What are you proposing?" or something, and it's so obvious that was put in, like, in post-production.
we need to capture the Death Star plan.
But it's tough. Like, I said this last time we watched a movie together. There's one of these type of rally planning scenes in almost every Star Wars movie. So it gets really difficult.
Rebellion is built on hope.
Hope, 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 hope.
There is no hope. I say we fight.
We're just beating that word in the ground. Between that and I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me.
I'm sorry, Jim. Without the full support of the Council, you're too good.
Jimmy Smits is looking great, though. I love his little, like, gray hairs coming in on the side. He's got some Reed Richards hair going on, like from Fantastic Four. Everybody walks away sad. I thought you guys didn't want... General Syndulla! There it is! Yeah, that's a reference to Hera. That's super cool.
You?
Who wants to fight?
So do I. We all do.
Force is strong.
I'm not sure 4 of us is quite enough.
How many groups?
What are you talking about?
We've got a lot of friends who want to go fight. So a lot of this stuff...
Well, we're never gonna believe
These X-Wings, for example, some of them in the background are literal cardboard cutouts, which is cool because that's what they did with the very first Star Wars, is they built like these huge cardboard versions of X-Wings and just put them up in the background.
like the one
The color palette on this film is way cool. There's just a lot of grays, right? Blacks and grays and muted, dull colors. All right, we're starting to pick up the pace here now.
Everything I did for the rebellion. And every time I walked away from something I wanted to forget, I told myself it was for
with me. Custom was wasted.
Diego Luna gets his little acting moment. So you guys know that Diego Luna is supposed to be getting his own Disney Plus series coming up. Thoughts on that? Interested in it? I mean, I'm obviously going to watch it. And apparently Tony Gilroy, the one who saved this movie, is the one that is kind of the showrunner on it. Because Gareth Edwards really hasn't worked since this movie, so I think that's indicative to his kind of lack of expertise when it comes to making big budget films. It's weird.
I'll be there for you.
Here's another good joke by K2.
Cassian said I had to.
I'll be there for you. Cassian said I had to. And then they kind of start making dreamy eyes at one another. Yeah, Bodhi, I don't know why Bodhi always wears his goggles on the top of his head. It's like, we get that he's a pilot. So a lot of this exterior stuff was done outside of an old Royal Air Force base. Like I said, they shot a lot of this in England. So they used like these old, not abandoned, but they're not in service anymore, these Air Force facilities. And then just went in after the fact and, of course, digitally added stuff here and there. But yeah, that's kind of cool. Chirrut's reaction there seems a little odd. Yes, I love the Force so much.
Yes, we are. Affirmative.
Okay, so yeah, they're taking the same ship that they stole from Edu. I'm tracking this now. It's been a minute. Been a minute since I've seen this. Rogue One. Get it? It's the name of the movie.
Well, there is now.
They kind of did the same thing with Solo, but everybody hated that when that happened in Solo. And they're like, what's your last name? I don't have one. I'm alone. Han Solo. So they stole one of the turtle ships, and now they're off to Scarif. And Homeboy up in his little dumpster is like, wait a second, what? Oh, I love this scene. Bale says he's going to Alderaan. Mon Mothma is mentioning the Jedi. Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is great.
I would trust her with my life.
I love that moment. So, when Mon Mothma says, for those of you who are watching this without actually following along, you might be like, what is he talking about? Mon Mothma says, you need to find somebody you can trust to track down Obi-Wan. And Bale's like, I would trust her with my life. And of course, he's referring to his daughter, Leia Organa. It's just a nice little moment for nerds like me who know exactly who he's talking about. That's the sort of stuff that works real good. Bale's dies! Yeah, Bale specifically mentioned, I gotta go back to Alderaan. Well, you're not gonna leave Alderaan once you go back there, Bale. Sorry, bro.
I can survive it.
K2, so good. Alright, so here we are on Scarif, heading towards Scarif. And they got this cool little, I forget what this thing is called. It's like a gateway. You have to go through the gate in order to enter the atmosphere. Apparently Gareth Edwards came up with the name Scarif when he got coffee at a Starbucks, and instead of writing the name Gareth on the cup, they wrote Scarif. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna use that, Scarif. It's a great idea." William says, "LOL." Did I say something funny? So, similar to Return of the Jedi, they use the stolen ship to gain access. I don't mind little stuff like that has been seen before. I know it bugs some people, but for the most part, people love this movie, so I guess it didn't bother them in here. I do like this concept of there being like a portal to go through the atmosphere. It's kind of cool. Alright, what other stuff can I mention here? Did I miss the R2-D2 3PO cameo? Guys, I think I totally missed that, but it obviously happens. I think there's also a cameo by an Imperial probe droid in the Jedha scene. I also love that they decided to do something on a beach. Y'all remember that poster when there was literally just a bunch of stormtroopers like in the water, maybe like a foot in the water on the beach? But then we never really saw that either. There's a lot of stuff from early on, like when the crew is running on the ground and there's the ATs above them, they're like running in and out of the AT walkers' legs, and all that stuff got cut in the final film. Alright, let's inspire the troops again, Jin. You are the spark of hope. I don't even know what that means that you just said. Can take the day. See, these helmets actually look real, like real life sort of style, which is kind of cool. Definitely haven't seen that before. They used a lot of stuff from like Vietnam and World War II to kind of inspire a lot of their storyboards and stuff as they mapped out, you know, how we're going to shoot the stuff on Scarif and even on Jedha, I think, to a certain extent. Melshi, I forgot that guy.
You take the main spot. Move it east and get wide of the ship. Find a position between here and the tower. Once you get to the best spot, light the place on. Then men feel like a hunger. Get those troopers away from us. Check. Keep the engine running.
Bodhi Rook. What should I do? I'm not good at anything. Caleb says I didn't miss the droids. Is it later? Oh, it is later. It's when the rest of the rebels realize what's going on. I'm with you. Yep. I just see your comment there, Caleb. I was like, how could I have missed that cameo? That's another one that's like, I guess it makes sense. Actually, it doesn't, though, because the droids have been with Bail, and Bail just left. So, yeah, that's a little bit off. Unless there's another Alderaan ship on Yavin at the moment, and Captain Antilius is just there hanging out, except I think he's off with Leia. So, I don't know. Somehow the droids have to get on the Tantive 4 to be with Leia for A New Hope. You know who I would have preferred to see in the Bodhi Rook role? Aziz Ansari. I'm probably just saying that because I'm watching a ton of Parks and Rec right now. But they kind of have a similar energy, right? Oh, funny. Alright, so as we're gearing up for this fight, just a couple other notes about the story and like where they came up with the whole idea for this film. John Knoll, he is a visual effects supervisor with Lucasfilm and has been with them since like the prequels. And he's been talking about this idea for over 10 years. Well, when the movie was made, it was 10 years. Now it's probably been like 14 or 15. And he kept pitching it, and nobody really kept biting. And then when Disney acquired it, he was like, oh, I got to get in with Kathleen and be like, hey, let's do this story about the rebels who stole the plans. And it finally worked. So at one point, because there was a Star Wars live-action TV show back when George Lucas was still around called Star Wars Underworld. And they thought about addressing this story during Star Wars Underworld. And needless to say, that never happened. Caleb, please never say you want Aziz in Star Wars. Are you not a fan? Or you just don't think he's appropriate for the universe? See, I thought the same thing about not Felicity. Oh, there's the line. I've got a bad feeling about this. I like that they cut it off there. See, if you're going to use that line in every single movie, you got to make it stand out to a certain extent. Who is the girl who plays Zori Bliss in Rise? Gosh darn it. Gotta look it up now, y'all. Story Bliss. It's Kira, right? Carrie Russell. So when I first heard she was going to be in the movie, I was like, what? Because it didn't feel right for Star Wars. And then she ended up being fine. The one that I don't get, though, is the Hobbit guy. Alright, so this set here, guys, is literally the underground in the UK. If any of you have been to the UK, those are the escalators that lead down to the tube. So they shot this in the middle of the night from like midnight to 4 in the UK at Canary Wharf Station, I think is the name of the platform that they're on. But it's wild because you can see the original footage of them, and the underground sign is there and everything. Carrie Russell, yeah, thanks, Peter. I don't know why I was struggling with that. I wanted to say Felicity because she played the character Felicity on TV, and then we have Felicity Jones in this movie. It's weird, though, to have like big name actors that you know in Star Wars, because so often it's usually like an unknown or a more B or C level actor, kind of like Ben Mendelsohn. Like Ben Mendelsohn's great, but he's not like an A-lister, in my opinion, anyway. All right, we're seeing stormtroopers get punched. These little mines that they're putting on stuff were apparently created by one of the little rebels. The little alien guy. He's like the gunner. If I see him, I'll point him out to you guys. Look how pretty that beach water is. All these hallways that look so good, look very familiar, similar to the original trilogy stuff. So yeah, Alan Tudyk, he didn't mind being on the stilts so much, but I guess he just hated when he had to be on his feet and wear the backpack. Because it's just a backpack with like these poles that put K2's head up there so the other actors could like meet his eyeline and stuff, and he did not enjoy that costume at all. I guess a lot of them rented a boat and lived on a boat during this shoot. Like Diego and Alan and Felicity all just chilled on a boat. And then when they shot the stuff in London, I guess Riz Ahmed grew up in London, so he just stayed with his parents. Caleb says, have I been to London? I want to go so bad. Yeah, Leah and I went to the UK, I want to say 2017, 2 or 3 years ago. It was amazing. I mean, I know you've been all over the world, Caleb, so you should add that to your list. I love this. Orson Krennic is like, what's happening? And why is no one doing anything? Are we blind? He's so good. I love Felicity Jones in that little costume, too. Again, this is like a nod to A New Hope, right? When Han and Luke put on the Stormtrooper stuff. This is more footage in the underground tube in the UK. This is all fun. Yeah, this is where, for me, this is where the movie really starts picking up. When we get more into this heist sort of storyline. Gosh, why doesn't everybody have that weapon that Baze uses? Because apparently it's very effective. The classic sound design of those TIE fighters. Look at this, straight out of A New Hope. Tarkin almost seems a little bit taller in this version, though. I don't remember him being tall in A New Hope. And maybe that's because he was always standing next to Vader, and we haven't seen Vader with Tarkin here. I don't know.
That won't be necessary.
I wonder what this guy's name is who keeps on getting all the information about the rebels and like, whoa, oh God, he's for whatever reason always seems to get the best stuff over his earpiece. Private. I also love all the mustaches. Because mustaches were big back in the 70s when all this stuff was shot for A New Hope. Of course, they're kind of big now, so it sort of makes sense. Maybe Rogue One is the one that really got mustaches back. What do you guys think? So I like the design too of these shore troopers, right? The ones that are in more of like a brown, like a sand, like I love sand, a sand colored piece of armor. Those are the shore troopers. Always fun to get new troopers added into the universe. And now we have Blue Squadron introduced. Oh, is that Chopper? I forget what Chopper looks like, but I know. Here's the droids. See, I don't know how I feel. I have mixed emotions on. Thanks for the like, Joe. Good to see you, man. Mixed emotions on the droids' appearance there, because I know that the droids have been in like every Star Wars movie, so it makes sense that we're continuing that trend. But why are they there? Because like I said earlier, Bail Organa has left. The droids are supposed to be in the possession of the Alderaanians, so they wouldn't be on Yavin yet. It seems odd.
Pad 2. I spot 40 rebels heading west on Pad 2. Get on there, pin down my guns on Pad 5. Pad 8, report.
Do you think all the Imperials like go and sit out on the beach when they're, have their off day? Peter says, I hate sand. It's coarse and gets everywhere. Here we are in the vault. I guess Gareth Edwards, the director too, was inspired by a lot of the Hoth stuff, which, of course, in here we're seeing a walker. But he says that as a kid he remembered like the trenches on the ice planet of Hoth and how it felt like they were in the trenches for 20 minutes, when in reality it's only like 2 minutes, but that's kind of the vibe he was going for. This stuff is great. These walkers, see, yeah, this is the stuff. I wish some of these were our main characters. I guess Baze and Chirrut are here, but you really get the sense of like being there on the ground with everybody being chased by walkers. Here's our fleet. Okay, so this Mon Cal named Raddus is supposed to be inspired by Winston Churchill. Kind of. Oh, and here's our old gold and red leaders, baby. That I loved. See, now that's a fan service moment that is super appropriate, because they would be flying in the Rebel fleet at this time. And all that footage was found by Gareth Edwards as he was digging through a lot of the Star Wars archives. He came across like a roll of film that was like unused footage from Star Wars, and popped it in and just had minutes after, I don't know how much time he had, but apparently enough to put together some stuff to fit them here. We see a lot of the Blue Squadron in here. Do a lot of them die? Is that why we never see Blue Squadron again in the original trilogy? Standing by? Yeah. It's real cool to see those familiar faces incorporated in again. And apparently one of those, I don't know if it's the gold leader guy or the red leader guy, but one of them is still alive. And so, oh, we lost a guy. Couldn't quite make it through the portal. Maybe that's why Blue Squadron gets picked off, because they didn't get down there in time. But anyway, they tracked down the actor and had him do some new lines and incorporated new like voiceover stuff for his role.
We could transmit the plans to the rebel fleet. We have to get the signal up to tell them it's coming. It's the size of the data files, that's the problem. They'll never get through.
It's never been so difficult to transfer data files. Man, if only Dropbox could handle a bigger sized file, am I right? Peter says the view from Raddus down through the gate to Scarif was a good 3D shot. Yeah, see, I didn't see this in 3D, but I can totally see what you're saying. That would be pretty awesome. This is definitely one of the movies that like you want to see this on the big screen, because there's a lot of action going on. I keep waiting to find that little alien character that is supposed to be like the bomb maker. It's not. There's two short little alien guys, and one has hair and one doesn't. And I keep seeing the one without hair, but that's not him. Alright, so Jin's kind of bonding with K2 here. This is cool. Troopers are standing in water there. All this is great. This is all great. See, yeah, it's not that guy. It's a different guy. Where does Baze get all of his ammunition? This is all great. Just a lot of fun. I'm glad the rest of the rebels decided to show up, because that would have been a huge bummer if nobody else... I mean, I guess everybody dies anyway. So Bodhi's... I don't know, his community... his I don't know, his instructions still are a little manic to me. I think it's just personal preference, though. I don't love the choices with him, but it's fine. General Raddus. He does kind of sound like Winston Churchill, though, doesn't he? Oh yeah. Okay, here's the little guy. This guy who is the gunner. He's the one that like created all the bombs. Yay! His name's Biston. Got it. That was one thing I read that I really thought was cool, that he was like their little bomb manufacturer. I was like, I want to be able to tell everybody that. I was afraid I was going to miss him. So apparently at some point while they're here in the vault, as they're going through different files, they come across something that mentions hyperspace tracking, which is really kind of interesting because in The Last Jedi, of course, we figure out that the First Order has finally been able to fully develop tracking ships through hyperspace. So I hadn't caught that before, but apparently it's here. I also just love seeing the classic stormtroopers. Those guys running through the hallway there make me so happy. Caleb says the Rogue One space battles in Star Wars Battlefront 1 were pretty difficult. Nailed it. What is your tell me about like the opinion of Battlefront, because again I'm not a gamer, but it looks beautiful. Is it a lot of fun to play? These are the final moments of K2 maybe? See, that's the worst death, because I think we as an audience connect the most with K2, and a lot of that is because he's funny and we naturally want to connect to humor. Like humor is a way that we reach out to people. So I'm sad to see him die, and I'm a little sad when Jin and Cassian go, but the rest of everybody else, I'm like, well, you did a good job. you got the plans to where they needed to be. I think General Raddus, too, is one of the first Mon Cals where they really used more digital effects to create the face. Because, of course, back in the day, Admiral Akbar was literally just the dude in the suit and just flapping his mouth. Master Switch. That's another word that's used a lot at the end of this movie, is Master Switch. I mean, I appreciate the simplicity of it, though. They didn't come up with some weird, unpronounceable name for it. For Jeddah! See, that seems random to me. Like, were you guys there at Jeddah? Did you have an emotional attachment to Jeddah? Red 5. Red 5's gonna die. Here he is. And of course, for you who are big fans, know that Luke Skywalker ends up hyperspace tracking. There it is. Luke Skywalker ends up getting assigned the Red 5 title. That's a fun bit where K2 shoots that stormtrooper. Yeah, hyperspace tracking. I had never noticed that before, but there it is. Caleb, Battlefront 1 was good. Not enough content. Battlefront 2 was great, except for the loot boxes. Yeah, they do look beautiful. Hey Caleb, now's the time to play again, right? With not a whole lot to do until quarantine ends. Ours got extended to May 15th here in Missouri. What's it like in Massachusetts? Black Saber, that's another reference to other Star Wars stuff. Stardust. I gotta admit, I kind of picked up on that Stardust was going to be the code. Actually, maybe Leah was the one who picked it up. One of us was like, there's a reason they keep on bringing up Stardust between Galen and Jin. Yeah, I love these shore troopers, man. That armor is cool. Oh, it's just so nice to see guys in real suits again. Prequels were just, they kill me. Every time I see those digital clones, I'm like, ugh. There it is. Follow the green blinky light. I feel like, see, this reminds me of those games that you would come across, like the roller skating rink or the pizza arcade, where you're trying to get the stuffed animals. I forget what those are called. Caleb, what was your question about Mass? Oh, what's the stay-at-home order situation in Massachusetts right now? Last I heard for Kansas City, and Peter, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, and will, but it's definitely through May 15th now, right? I just wonder what the rest of the country's dealing with. I mean, it's a bummer, but it's giving me a lot of time to catch up on Star Wars again and do this stuff with you, so that's fun. K2's gone. That was the worst one. Like, once he died, I was like, okay, the rest of them can die if they want. I don't really care. It totally makes sense that they killed them all off, though. I guess Gareth Edwards, the director, originally didn't think that Disney was going to allow that. And so he himself was like not going to do it, just assuming that it wouldn't be allowed. And then he found out that they were like, yeah, that's fine. He's like, oh, okay. If the shield's open, we can send you the plans. Gotcha. Yeah, Caleb, sounds pretty similar to here in KC. Alright. Oh, I forgot to talk about these new TIE fighters. There's a name. Well, I have the name for them somewhere. It's like a Scry fighter? TIE Striker. TIE Striker is the name of those new flat-winged fighters where you have the wings on top and the pod is kind of below. That's a cool shot where we see the X-Wing guy go down and then we follow the troopers on the beach. Alright, so they can no longer play their little arcade game, and Cassian and Jin will have to go extract the file manually. Love this. More shots of rebels running in ocean water. Yes, Death Troopers jumping out of things. This is all good. This final act is all really good stuff. Oh, Kurt! Hey, man, how's it going? I missed this. Got caught up in family stuff. May the force be with you. Hey, that's all right, man. It's a beautiful day, at least here in Kansas City. And let's face it, it's always beautiful out there in LA. But yeah, glad you're doing family stuff, and thanks for at least stopping by, my friend. We're at the end of the movie. If you want a timestamp, if you want to jump on, I haven't shouted one out in a while. 1 hour, 50 minutes, and 10 seconds. 1:50:11. The music here. Oh, sorry guys, I almost lost you. But going back to how well the suspense is built here in the last act, a big part of that is Michael Giacchino's soundtrack, his score. Where is the master switch? I see it there. It's perfectly exposed. So obviously with Cassian and Jin jumping onto this thing, that's all a lot of wire work. She's got the flash drive is in her possession. And here comes Krennic. Placed my pen. I had a pen around here somewhere. Alright, so here's where Chirrut decides to walk out there and not get shot at all. Which, I mean, kind of makes sense that the Force is willing him to make it to the Master Switch. Of course, we're cutting back and forth here to Krennic stuff. But, like, why does the Force decide that right after Chirrut switches it that it's not going to protect him anymore? Like, really? Why does Chirrut... He's literally being shielded by the Force at this point. Finds the switch, and then the Force is just like, okay, you did what we needed you for. You can die. Oh, there Cassian falls. See, oh, here's the thing that bugs me. This dude broke his back there. There is no way he could climb back up and save the day at the end of the movie. He's seriously injured, but whatever. Suspension of disbelief. It's just like annoying that like people hold the sequel trilogy to this ridiculous standard when it comes to questions of logic, and stuff like this nobody really talks about. It's like we saw his back hit that metal beam with a really strong amount of force. All right, so here we have Baze Malbus mourning the loss of his friend Chirrut. And yay, okay. I never really bought this relationship in the first place, so it's not super effective to me, but now Baze is gonna like fully embrace this forces with me line. Here I thought the line was done with Chirrut's death, but no. This is a pretty shot though. It's really well constructed. There's some classic Y-Wings going after the Star Destroyer. See, I always really liked the Y-Wing design quite a bit. Hey, Bodhi finally took off the goggles. See, I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. A lot of these choices of him being surprised and being very like staccato. His rhythm is very abrupt. This is for you, Galen. That also is odd to me because I get that they had an exchange, like Bodhi. Oh, and here Bodhi dies. Wah wah. So I get that Bodhi had an exchange with Galen, but we never saw them interact on screen together at the same time. So the whole "this is for you, Galen" thing doesn't really work great. Also, while we're talking about looking at Baze right now, I forgot to point out when he says goodbye to Jin, he calls her sister, and it's like, what? Sister? Where did that come from? Like, it just seems, I get that they wanted all these deaths to have an impact, and they did their best, to fix the issues with the movie and try to give it more of an impact, but it just didn't quite work. Still a cool movie. Like I said, as much as I'm pointing out that I don't love about it, I think it's completely adequate. I definitely think it's somewhere in the middle of the road. All right, Baze, there you go. You get blown up with the bomb. All right, Jin. This bit reminds me of the Millennium Falcon when Lando goes up through the hatch, except this seems way more dangerous. So here we are on this Rebel freighter. Look at these classic costumes! Straight out of A New Hope. Oh yeah, and here's where it rams into the Star Destroyer. This is a cool idea. So, okay, here Jin is on the top of the disc. This is where she's got to get to transmit the file. Do y'all remember in the trailer, though, when they had that shot of Jin, running towards the TIE fighter on this very ramp? And that didn't make it into the final movie either? See, all this stuff keeps going wrong for them. That's one thing that I like about this third act is you have this feeling in your gut that they're not going to make it. Even though we do make it, and that's what's so impressive is all this stuff keeps going wrong, and it's just ugh. So that is really cool because considering we know what's coming and they're still able to elicit these nerves in my stomach is really, really cool. They're gonna ram a Star Destroyer into another Star Destroyer. That's the coolest. See, yeah, I really like a lot of the space battles. Freaking TIE Striker. See, this is what I'm talking about. They continue to raise the stakes and raise the drama here. Peter says the railing doesn't seem like it's enough for that antenna tower. I need to get a better look at it. I'm not sure. I mean, it is a huge tower. I would suspect the weight of it would be pretty high. Alright, so here's Krennic. Who are you? He doesn't even know.
I'm Janessa, daughter of Galen and Mira. You've lost her.
Oh, I have I?
My father's revenge. We built a flaw in the Death Star. We put a fuse in the middle of your machine, and I've just told the entire galaxy how to light it.
The shield. Your signal will never reach the rebel base. Oh, you'll see here.
I forget where Ben Mendelsohn's from, but the way he speaks is so very interesting. Oh, here's Cassian. I guess his back isn't broken after all. This is cool here, the way that they use the sound, the soundtrack, the score, and we see the entire shield just go. Yeah, all this stuff is great. Ooh, and we're coming up to the really good stuff too, y'all. Good old Mon Calamaris. See, I guess freaking Cassian, she doesn't. I I need to stop complaining about him murdering people, but like, why wouldn't you let her take care of Krennic? I don't know. This is a war zone, and you're not going to let her just end Krennic's rule? I mean, you've been murdering people for a long time now. I guess you've transformed and you've completed your story arc, I guess. Caleb says, yeah, the ending of this one is one of the best parts, legit. Yeah, with that Vader scene, I'll tell you guys now because I want to be able to watch it when it actually shows up. But that was one of the things that got added in towards the end. That when Tony Gilroy came in to save the movie, he added that Vader scene. So it's a different actor actually in the suit. Oh, they're giving each other lovey-dovey eyes. Do they know that they're going to die at this point? I think they do. I think it's pretty well established early on that they are not getting out. Oh, and here Krennic sees. Oh, Tarkin, you may fire when ready. So the actor who played Tarkin on set, like, there's footage of him with his tablet just watching all this old footage of Peter Cushing playing the role in the first movie. And I think that might be Rian Johnson again in his little cameo. So there it goes. I forget if the Death Star is destroying just the base. I don't think it's the whole planet. May the Force be with you. Yeah, this movie, I will give it credit. There are a lot of great shots, a lot of good camera work. Y'all remember my complaints with the prequels. A lot of the camera stuff is quite boring. That's not the case for this movie at all. The use of the camera is pretty awesome. Okay, so Vader has showed up. And we have this pretty scene with Cassian and Jyn on the beach, awaiting their doom. And, I'm a sucker for romance, but I think it was a good choice to not really have them kiss. Like, they could have easily added in a kiss here, and instead Cassian just says, hey, your father would have been proud. And honestly, this is a good end. This is the third act of this movie is hands down the best part of this movie. The music, the score, here we cut to Vader. Like, at this point, it's running on all cylinders. Prepare a boarding party. Whoa. I mean, I don't know. If it was me, though, I would probably take advantage of, like, one last kiss if I knew I was going to die. But there's something poetic about them just holding each other. What is the ancient city that got completely destroyed? Where they literally found, like, skeletons of people's in each other's arms. I can't remember. I'm sure one of you probably knows. But yeah, it reminds me of that. Alright, here comes Vader. Oh, I love this scene so much. So good. And we have Tony Gilroy to thank for this. None of this was in the original script or any of the Gareth Edwards stuff. But we've got the plans. See, and I love this. The door gets stuck. Like this, it's the continuation of building suspense. Pompeii. Thank you, Caleb. Yes. It reminds me of Pompeii. Oh, this is so good. It's completely dark. We hear the Vader breath, and then we see his lightsaber. And I'm not going to even comment on this anymore because I just want to watch it. Oh, last guy gets stabbed in the chest. So good. And now we're on the original ship from A New Hope as the Tantive 4 with Princess Leia on board flies off. It's so crazy to think that now we know that Leia was at the Battle of Scarif, right? And there's the Imperial March theme as Vader watches it float away. It is the only thing that's weird about the Vader fight, is that the next time we see Vader, he's slowly sparring with Obi-Wan Kenobi. All right, here's the very last shot. We get to see Princess Leia modified and digitally enhanced. And the word hope one more time. And apparently the director is the guy in the chair right there pulling the lever. And that's it. Alright, I gotta say, the ending of it is phenomenal. It really saves the whole picture, in my personal opinion. Guys, thanks so much. I feel like, I wanted to say one quick thing about Leia, because what's crazy is that Carrie Fisher was still alive when they shot this, right? So, but they had a different actress come on set, a younger actress on set, and they did her hair up and everything, and they just redid it digitally. And Carrie Fisher was like, "Yeah, that's fine with me. I don't want you. Give me some money, and that's cool." So it does start this weird conversation about creating digital characters based off of old actors, oftentimes deceased actors. So I get the reason for being like hesitant to go in that direction. But I think in moderation, it's cool, especially when you're in a universe like this where you're trying to fill in gaps in a way that wouldn't really work unless you did something like this or possibly recast the role. But I'm just super impressed with what they did with Tarkin. I think it's pretty incredible. All right, guys, it's Saturday. It's beautiful outside. I know it was a smaller group today. I'm wondering if maybe I won't do Saturday afternoons anymore. Of course, I think I'm really just down to one last Saturday afternoon. But keep an eye out and be prepared. I might modify my schedule a little bit depending on a few things. Yeah, thanks again for joining. Hope you had a good time. And as always, may the Force be with you.